Hi, Byron.
Good evening, Sheila.
Oh, I got to turn on my camera there.
There you go. Well, I'm sitting here reading some of your new information.
Yeah, I was trying to make my sentences more interesting.
Okay. Well, writing is rewriting,
Hmm.
number one. And yes, anytime you can make the shortest distance between 2 points, be direct.
Yeah, you know,
That's
I am taking a poetry class, not a
Mhm.
class, but I meet with a group of women who are the woman who's facilitating it is the poet laureate for St. Louis, and
Mhm.
so she seems to enjoy meeting with about two or three of us
Yes.
every Tuesday. And I might have overdone it with the rhyming, but I try to cut down on long uh,
Yes.
sections,
Yes.
trying to cut down on long sections. And one way that I can do it is if I try to make a poem out of it.
Yes. Well,
So,
poetry indeed is an exact skill,
mhm.
okay? And one in which um, I find even to sometimes my own, I'm not I find that those who can write it are have a blessing
Hmm.
because it is relative to being exact and each word spoken, each word written
Hmm.
has so much context to it that, and then of course you can cut out a lot of adjectives and adverbs and be, as they say, very, very direct. It's an
Hmm.
art. It's truly an art. I salute those who are capable of writing it, and then when it's delivered,
Hmm.
um, even like the lyricists of one of the new artists that I've found an interest in is an artist by the name of Dochi.
Hmm.
Now, her rap can be crude, but what she has done is to take her rap and storytelling moment,
Hmm.
and behind it, she's infused it with jazz fusion.
Hmm.
So the group that is playing her music, all women, I
Hmm.
mean, these sisters are, oof. And then when she puts her rap signature to it,
Hmm.
and then a performance art that goes along with it, I'm like, this is not your usual nursery school rhyme rap with
Hmm.
simple music behind it to the point where it gets to be redundant,
Hmm.
same beat, and I'm like, that reminds me of when Gil Scott Heron and the Last Poets
Hmm.
um, were using that style to deliver, and it was both rhythmical, it was lyrical, it had and then I mean, you think about when the revolution won't be televised. You
Hmm.
listen to that music behind him, and even with who would be somebody? Oh, Nikki Giovanni. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness, when she came out with that um her first album, and was just it was just almost perfect.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
mean, those were the and that was it was raw,
Hmm.
but it was stylized. It was just beautiful.
Hmm.
Ego tripping. Oh my God. Nikki Giovanni's ego tripping
Hmm.
blew me,
Right.
blew me away. Okay, I'm in
Hmm.
college at that time. I'm in Hampton, and I'm like, oh my
Hmm.
God, that was that piece. And then the one that really was stunning was her
Hmm.
her honor homage to Aretha Franklin.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It's,
Yeah,
I
he's
still think,
incredible.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
incredible. So there is these new artists
Mm-hmm.
like Doechii, like
Mm-hmm.
Kendrick Lamar. Now, Kendrick, I still don't understand what he's saying, but
Mm-hmm.
I get the visual.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like you don't need to understand all of what he's saying, but if you
Mm-hmm.
follow the visual, you understand it even more because it's speaking to a element that's inside of us as African Americans of the diaspora
Mm-hmm.
of a revolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that his the costumes that
Oh
they
yes.
wore, and you could tell they were. I didn't quite understand what he was saying. I'm glad you mentioned him. So I said I'm gonna go back and watch this on
I,
YouTube.
I've watched it several times and I still don't get all of that he's
Oh
saying,
yeah,
but
yeah.
the visuals are
Uh-huh.
saying a lot. And he
Yeah.
was not talking to white people.
Mm-hmm.
Most black people that I know of our age or even younger
Mm-hmm.
get it. They got it. They
Mm-hmm.
got it so much. It was like Fight the Power. Now,
Right.
Fight the Power was originally Isley Brothers,
Mm-hmm.
but when the group who did it for Spike Lee's movie,
Mm-hmm.
it became even more of a revolutionary statement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this. I'm gonna tell you a true story about that piece. I had gone to the opening of the new Smithsonian African American Museum in DC. I
Mm-hmm.
was there. There must have been 10, 15, 20,000 people on the grounds, maybe even 50.
Oh wow.
And I had tickets to get in.
Mm-hmm.
My ticket didn't let me in until 5:30, 5:45 that evening, even though I was there at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. And you stayed there the whole
I stayed there because it
time?
was a celebration. And I
Mm-hmm.
was at that time, me and one of my best friends and his
Mm-hmm.
sister, Francois Craig and his sister, we went together because he
Mm-hmm.
got the tickets. He was working at OPM. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another story because Trump is going in and decimated OPM, but he
He's
was working
decimating everything.
at everything. But so he was working at OPM at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went, we were there, and
Mm-hmm.
I did an interview for my radio show that I had on WBAI
Mm-hmm.
FM radio in New York City. So I was interviewing folks on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
live interview, or taped it to play. Well, when we got in at 5:45, it must have been about 6 o'clock, 6:15 when we were finally getting ready to walk in.
Mm-hmm.
Before we walked in, I got a text message that one of my dearest and best friends had passed away, Bill Nunn.
Mm-hmm.
Remember Radio Raheem from That's Bill Nunn.
Oh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Sister Act, the police, that was Bill Nunn.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, Bill, I'm taking you in. The ancestors are waiting for you.
Mm-hmm.
We come out. It must have been about 8:45. There's just so much to see because we started at the basement where you're
Mm-hmm.
in the belly of the slave ship. And every time you would walk up a level, it would be a level toward the light of freedom.
Yeah, I was wondering how long it took you to.
Astonishing. So we get out. Francois's car is parked at OPM. So that's like 6, 7 blocks to walk down Constitution Avenue to
Mm-hmm.
where OPM is. And as we were going by the pavilion that was still out there jammed with people, this
Mm-hmm.
is 9 something in the night, they automatically started Fight the Power. And I was like, oh my God, the revolution is going to start this night right here on the mall of Washington, D.C.
Wow.
you know, but it was a moment.
That sounds great. Sound
yeah,
like I had a
yeah,
great time.
it was because and it was
Mm-hmm.
a celebration of knowing. And when I tell you, because I grew up in DC,
Mm-hmm.
and my weekends in high school were spent in the summertime. I'd go down to the Smithsonian. I
Mm-hmm.
would literally go to all the museums,
That's great.
and because it was free.
Yeah.
And
I have yet
so
to get to that, to the African American Museum. That's
put that on your bucket list, as well as the
mm-hmm.
museum in Montgomery, Alabama, the lynching museum.
Mm-hmm. The one with the long
Yes,
uh
that the obelisk. Yes,
obelisk.
that museum is two museums in one.
Mm-hmm.
Where the obelisk are is the second museum that you go through the first museum, which would blow you away because
Mm-hmm.
it's
And what?
exhilarating, it's exhausting, it's
Mm-hmm.
powerful. And then when you go outside to the where the obelisk are, that is just your day is filled with ancestral awareness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to go through the museum in Washington?
Oh, from 5:30 to like about 6 o'clock, 6:15 to about 9 o'clock, because
Mm-hmm.
was just so much to see, and it was packed, it was crowded. So that
Mm-hmm.
experience of being in the basement at the bottom of the slave ship was real because the museum was packed.
Mm-hmm.
But every layer that you walked up, the
Mm-hmm.
ramps, was like proceeding to the light of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, it's well worth the visit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Is it
Going to
shaped like a
DC.
ship? Is it
It
shaped like a
it
ship?
is.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah. It has that. Now, when I left New York by bus to come to DC, I was sitting on the bus with a young lady who's a couple of seats away from me.
Mm-hmm.
But I recognized that more folks were going to DC for the opening, so there was conversation.
Mm-hmm.
She happened to be the niece of one of the architectural designers of the building.
Mm-hmm.
And so, once again, when you are in a space and you have that experiential moment, first person of history as it is absolutely evolving in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
you've had that opportunity in
Mm-hmm.
your travels, in your experiences, and you write from a knowledge base that is first person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even with your research, there's a griots or griots, however you want to pronounce it, usually channel the ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
They just work through us. And they have that, you have that moment of allowing yourself to be the vessel.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm seeing in your rewriting, because I'm understanding from whence the lessons that you have learned academically and as well as um, through your recent classes with Vera, you are applying the lessons learned.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm
And,
gonna get my other
mhm,
jacket. Hold on, Byron. It's kind of cold up here in the attic. You know, it's
sure.
we're supposed to get that big snow starting tonight. Hold on.
I know that you are. I'll hold
Yeah.
on.
Wait a minute.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, now interestingly enough, when I went to go get my lottery ticket this evening,
Uh-huh.
the woman behind the where I would go to get my the Speedway gas stations right up the street,
Mm-hmm.
she knows that I come in to buy the ticket. And I always say, now you know, if I win, you win. It's in your hands. So pick me out a winner. And so we can the dialogue went from that to it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, and I'm quoting her, yes, I'm we're gonna get some of that which gonna hit my city where I'm from. And I was like, where you from? She said, St. Louis. I said to her, well, I'm getting ready to speak to my friend who's in St. Louis this evening. No, Sheila,
Yeah.
there's 7 billion people on the planet Earth. That conversation relative to St. Louis
Mm-hmm.
and you couldn't just be happening, circumstantial. It's divine ordinance. I'm telling you.
I wish I was there. I tell you, I wish I was there.
Well, we're
Uh,
getting ready to get that snowstorm on Wednesday. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday is supposed
yeah.
to, we might get 3 inches, but y'all getting ready to get blasted even more than that.
Yeah, they said, I think they said some parts of St. Louis is supposed to get 12 inches.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't
It's,
believe it.
it's,
But they keep my sister's daycare called and said that they are canceling the next 2 days.
yes, in preparation for knowing that it's about to be bad. Now,
Yeah.
there's a passage in the Bible
Uh-huh.
in Exodus. I'm gonna paraphrase it because I'm only a student of the book,
Mm-hmm.
where Moses and Pharaoh are having this debate about God.
Mm-hmm.
And Pharaoh says to Moses, you know, Moses, you keep telling me about your God, and I respect all that, but I'm not so into your God. And Moses said, why? Because Pharaoh says, I am a God. And then Moses says back to Pharaoh, okay, you may not believe in my God, but the pox that's about to hit your house, if you are God, I sure hope you can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Sheila,
Mm-hmm.
let's just jump that if that's at least 5,000 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just jump to the 21st century, 2025, and we got the same kind of situation where
Mm-hmm.
someone wants to be God.
Mm-hmm.
When he was sworn in, he didn't even put his hand on the Bible.
I know the guy is a fake, a
Yes,
phony.
completely all the way around. And his whore, his
Mm-hmm.
wife, was holding the Bible.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
being a Christian that I am, follower of the Prince of Peace, if you're going to swear an oath to God,
Mm-hmm.
I would think you would want your hand on that Bible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So he who portends, not pretends, portends to
Mm-hmm.
be God
Mm-hmm.
is indeed the pox that's on our house right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's just start with the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the fire, the storm that's hitting it, the airplanes falling out of the sky, you name it,
Mm-hmm.
it is happening all within 30 days of this clown being in office, and he can't handle it.
I tell you one thing, I'm not going up in a plane until this
No,
man is out of
not
office.
happening, not happening, not
Yeah.
no, not no way, not no how.
No
No,
planes.
no please.
I'll be driving to North Carolina for the
There it
festival.
is. There you go. And take
Yeah.
your time. Don't be in a hurry. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So as I was getting back to this, because
Uh-huh.
I'm just my first time looking through this, I am impressed.
No, I'm glad.
I
I'm
am
glad.
truly, truly impressed because this is one of the things that Garland
Mm-hmm.
and Kimberly and I had a conversation about.
Mm-hmm.
That the sometimes, and remember when we were first got started in our sessions,
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to share with you that some of your passages were too long. They were
Yeah.
not, there were dialogue that was not familial to the persons that you were best of friends. And
Hmm.
so now that I'm seeing this and reading through it, just up to page 6, literally, I just got it because it's been a very busy day for me, but
Hmm.
literally just going through some of what I'm seeing, and then knowing that you are taking the classes with Vera, your economy of words now is more liking to a dialogue between friends.
Mm. Well, that's good. I'm
Yeah,
sorry I just got it to you,
that's
because
okay.
I've been working on it the whole day.
Yes, but
Uh,
it's this is what we were talking about, so
mhm,
that it makes it be even more familial when they're
mhm,
sitting down and having this tea time with each other, and they
mhm,
know time is short, and yet there's so much to talk about, but they don't have to be didactic.
mhm,
They can be friends. And
mhm,
this is two women who are really dear, dear friends who can talk to each other and cut through some of the explanation of what's going on to talk about the things that they are experiencing,
mhm,
present, past, and even in the future.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's more spontaneous. I think that's what we're looking for.
Well, that's good. I did let's see. The two major points that you had mentioned to me were
Mm-hmm.
to uh do a scene with them, the
Mm-hmm.
three suffragists. They've
Mm-hmm.
gone back to Victoria's house.
Yes.
So I put that in there. That was and I'll after you look at it, I can
Mm-hmm.
expand on that. Or if you could tell me
Well,
if
we're gonna go to that scene because I'm very interested in that. But I was just struck by
uh-huh,
your attempt
how much I
to
cut out.
yes, and I'm because you see now
Uh-huh.
because you mentioned poetry.
Yeah.
Okay, if poetry is the most exact frame of language, and then music and lyrics
Mm-hmm.
being next, then when in a play and let's use Shakespeare as an example. They spoke so eloquently and flowery,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of that is because they didn't have special effects that we have nowadays. So they put the special effects. It's a windy day, and it's the storm is outside, the night is dark, and you can hear thunder and lightning, and all that's rolled up into a an
Mm-hmm.
iambic pentameter. That's poetry. So when we are speaking to each other, and one of the things about August Wilson that everybody enjoys so much is they speak of his dialogue as poetry.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it's not rhyming schemes, but it's poetic in its expressions.
Mm-hmm.
Italians use their hands a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about it. Everything is from here.
Mm-hmm.
The Japanese in their kabuki theater is almost the dance of Tai Chi in its, and then lyrical uh, dialogue, which is bent to even match the movement.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it's James Brown and funk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's the best way to put it because that's what and how we speak.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to Mississippi and I was working on my Fannie Lou Hammer piece
Mm-hmm.
film, and I went to Ruleville, Mississippi, not Mississippi, Mississippi. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. In Mississippi,
Mm.
everybody talks as if they're singing the blues.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. And you hear it because their storytelling, their language is based in a kind of song that when you listen to
Mm-hmm.
B.B. King and you listen to Crossroads with Johnson and you listen to the songs of out of the Delta,
Mm-hmm.
they talk like that. It ain't just that they play the music like that; they actually talk like that. And then you're like, and it would hit me. It struck me. I'm like, wow, why is this so familiar that I'm listening to it? And it's like, then I got it. I said, okay, this is the way they live and they talk just like they sing the blues.
Mm-hmm.
That comes from a knowing that, and I imagine every culture has its own dynamic of the way they deliver and speak to each other.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And of course, here it once again, your economy of saying things now is more liking to a a a song in response.
Mm.
And that makes it even more powerful and beautiful. And I'm sure with the way Vera is sharing her knowledge with you, is
Mm-hmm.
to stay and watch how these characters actually do bond with each other
Mm-hmm.
from knowing each other. And you don't have to be afraid as a writer to have them have empathy for each other,
Mm-hmm.
as much as sympathy, but empathy, because these are friends. And it
Mm-hmm.
comes off even better when we know that they are bonded together, even if they're 10 and 12 years difference from each of them. But the
Mm-hmm.
fact is, they are cut from a similar cloth, and that's why they're friends.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so when they come to that moment where we find them after coming together after the conference
Mm-hmm.
to have lunch, it's even more of a chance for them to experience their friendship for the one moment that they are all together at the same time
Mm-hmm.
as girlfriends.
Mm-hmm.
And we each one will have something just as important as the other, as I can only imagine Victoria being the youngest, looking for truth from Madam C.J. Walker, who's closest to her in age, but is just
Mm-hmm.
as rebellious. In fact, she's more rebellious than Victoria. Victoria has settled into that middle class, you know, experience,
Mm-hmm.
and she's comfortable with it, except that her marriage is not all that she wants it to be.
You're right. Yep.
And then with Madam C.J. Walker, as I was reading in the first couple of lines of the play,
Mm-hmm.
is sharing with her, well, that was a mistake that I made. And it's like, yeah, but blah, 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 blah. But you cut right to the quick on it. And it impacts Victoria even more because she's like, girl, when we talk about these husbands,
Mm-hmm.
it gets real and funky for them, which is what we
Mm-hmm.
want to hear. An audience wants to actually hear that. Okay. So that
Yeah.
when we come back to after the conference, which is coming up, I'm like, I
Mm.
was like, I can't wait to see what you've written here.
Well,
And here it
I
is. Hmm.
I did not write a lot,
Okay.
but I just want to find out if I'm on the right track.
Well, let's just take a look at it because basically we know what you got previously. At
Mm-hmm.
Rise, after the panel discussion at the Mississippi Valley Suffrage Conference in St. Louis, Victoria has invited Sarah and Ida back to her house for lunch. They enter the house and settle down in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
Victoria says, "What do you all want to eat?" Sarah, "What about your famous fried chicken, collard greens, and some cornbread? And don't forget the salt and pepper." Anything is okay for me, Victoria. Victoria says, "So, what did you think about the conference?" Good question.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I, being the oldest, I don't know what we accomplished. They did not respond to our charges, or address our concerns of how our people are suffering under white oppression in this country. Edna Gellhorn talks about putting stickers on packages, but not addressing the lynching taking place throughout the South and the North. Perfect, because that's what the main focus was. How y'all gonna be white women talking about voting rights and have us here not talk about the thing that's most the most important thing to us?
Yeah, they and then the white suffragists, she kind of derailed everything.
Yes,
And
yes.
then they well, Gellhorn says she doesn't want to offend the Southern suffragists.
Right. Which is so typical of white people not wanting to go after their own.
Right. Yeah.
We'll let them have that moment. But
Mm-hmm.
but I get what you're trying to say, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to offend my white sister.
Right.
Wow. Okay. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something we've always gotten from all white people.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think it's always about race? Well, it just happens to be always about race. Hello.
That's right. Yeah.
And so Victoria says, well, it was a conference on suffrage. See, and that's her defending her middle
Mm-hmm.
classness of trying to be acceptable to white people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Sarah says, but avoiding the issue is showing us how they want to address the issue. You got that right, Sarah. And I don't think they have the desire to fight for us. Gellhorn said herself that they did not want to offend their Southern sisters. This is why I founded the Alpha Suffrage Club in Chicago in January, just for this reason. It's the first Negro women's suffrage club in the country. We aim to promote voting rights specifically for Negro women and educate Negro women about our civic responsibilities and help organize us to elect politicians who represent our interests. Okay. Not bad. I think that can be cleaned up just a little bit, but it's right. She is the journalist.
Mm-hmm.
Stating her position, which she will put in her newspapers. I'm sure her writings reflected that.
Mm-hmm. She's the
And
more radical of the three.
right, but the intellectual radical.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Mm-hmm.
Sarah is so raw.
Mm-hmm.
you know, she don't mind calling you out for who you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's Sarah Breedlove.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's the in between. We got the intellectual, the street, and the appeaser.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
Right.
And
She's the appeaser. Oh,
she's
I
the
better write
appeaser.
that down.
And so Sarah says, I love it because that's where this conversation gets right to the heart of one, their evaluation of the conference, but
Mm-hmm.
then as it relates to their own experiential moments in their communities and what they represent and who they represent.
Mm-hmm.
So Sarah says, oh, okay, enough about suffrage. Let's check in with each other. Now, how you doing, Ida? How is Ferdinand? See, they come back to that moment of familiarity because can we talk? Can we just have a talk about what really is going on? All this stuff about the conference is good, but how is it impacting on us as women, our friendship, our relationships, our community?
Mm-hmm.
And Ida says, is doing fine. So I could not have married a more perfect partner. Maybe our marriage worked so well because he was already a well-established journalist, lawyer, and an activist when we married in 1895. Wow, it's been 18 years. Now I'm trying to focus more on my children, so I don't travel as much anymore. I stay focused on the struggle against lynching. Victoria, how are you doing? How are things going with James? Don't ask. Not so well. I've been appointed by the governor to the Board of Commissioners of the State Industrial School for Incorrigible Negro Girls. The facilities are for our female children and young women who have gone astray with the law is deplorable. One child I know of was put in isolation for 2.5 months for being a so-called sexual deviant. Our children don't receive the same state help and funding as the white children. We've got to do more to mentor our young women and participate in their welfare. I'm happy to be the first vice president of the city's Young Women's Christian Association. Even my work with the Negro soldiers seems to make James jealous. He wants to control every move I make. You would think he would applaud my work, but he sees everything I do is another chore that takes me away from the house. I got an idea. Let's all go to the kitchen and see what we can pull together for lunch. Okay, now you got a heck of a lot more to talk about in this scene. Okay,
Yeah.
you cannot leave us at the brink of, come on, girlfriend. Now you know we tried to get the 411 from you, and you're gonna break us down to go fix some food. I thought we were getting away from that.
Yeah.
See?
I got a lot more to write there.
Oh, yes, you do. And you got to let yourself go
Mm-hmm.
in terms of let the characters. This is why I say now you put it up on a blackboard, which you
Mm-hmm.
haven't done because you're writing from your spirit now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take just this scene and what you've written thus far and you put it up on the blackboard, what are they talking about? This point A, bullet pointed.
Okay. Well.
And then on the side of that,
Mm-hmm.
talk about bullet point the things that you know they should be talking about other than the conference. Because
Mm-hmm.
after Victoria breaks this down, and if she were to stop at City's Young Women's Christian Association, Sarah would at that point would be that, come on, girlfriend, why are you telling me what I already know? We just came out of the conference.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about your husband.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? I saw I saw him talking to you in the manner in which he was talking to you. Why
Mm-hmm.
you think I got up and left?
Mm-hmm.
See, you ain't telling this now. This is Sheila, the writer, trying to control the dialogue, but that you know that there's a hell of a lot more that these women should be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about each other's relationships. With Sarah's got a story to tell that goes in deeper into why she left her man.
Right.
Okay, she on now.
Sarah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
You cut some of that out in the first scene.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
should now come into this scene and say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, I don't know, but I'm a Ida. This is what I saw the last time I was here. Now you tell me what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And you want now we can go to the kitchen, but we're gonna get it to the kitchen, it's gonna get even hotter. You're gonna have to come break down some more of this thing while we fixing them greens and collard
Mm-hmm.
greens and fried chicken. Because you ain't gonna just sit up there and talk to me about the conference. We're done with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's why I say you've got to break it down like it's and this is where Vera's classes and workshop with you can actually be an assistant to your breaking this scene into the elements that need to be discussed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's so
Yeah.
much that you have not even touched
Mm-hmm.
that has to be brought forward. Because Sarah said to her earlier in scene one, Victoria, slow down. This is not you're not doing a commercial right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. We got to break it down. Break it down to like I'm stupid. Okay. Because what I really want to say to you is what I saw between you and James is disturbing.
Yeah.
And she knows. And with Ida being there with her, this is when the two of them can say, um, that letter that you wrote me, it had me kind of concerned about you and James.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
how can we help you?
Mm-hmm.
Because when she says at the point at which Victoria says after he's thrown her stuff out onto the rain, and she says, "That's it. I've got to get out of this marriage. It's done."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She can't say that without having this conversation here to let us know the built up tension that is being experienced day in, day out. He goes out drinking, he comes back with liquor on his breath. I even smell perfume on his shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know that's why she's upset, because it ain't her perfume,
Mm-hmm.
ain't her lipstick. And he's up there smooching up on barmaids who are
Mm-hmm.
there for one purpose. Good night, good times, good evening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because he ain't getting it from her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you got to explore this further.
Right. Yeah, this is just I was running out of time because I was doing all the poetry earlier today. But yeah, that is their personal lives. I have to go in. I didn't have time to really get into
Mhm,
Sarah. But
mhm.
you're right. With the two older women, this is where they give advice.
Yes. And it helps frame her
Hmm.
focus
Hmm.
so that when she writes that letter at the end
Hmm.
to Ida, there's so much compassion and passion in what she's writing because her best friend closest to her is no longer with us,
Hmm.
and that she's about to make this choice to leave St. Louis and go, and with a life that's waiting for her. She's still a young woman. There's still a lot of young woman left in her to be somebody's partner, to be a
Hmm.
friend, to have a boyfriend, to be once to have a mate if that's what she wants, but to
Hmm.
escape the bondage and and,
Hmm.
and think about it, our escape from bondage is always rooted in freedom.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the migration at that time from the South, because St. Louis is still considered South, would be, if it was to go up the Mississippi, would either be Kansas City or Chicago.
Hmm.
And Chicago is, to this day, part of that migration where Negroes ended up coming off of the agrarian lifestyle, moving up to the industrial life of a Chicago.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I get it. Victoria is she definitely is in conflict
Mm-hmm,
at this point. She's in
mm-hmm,
conflict with what she's trying to accomplish for women. She cannot accomplish or has not yet accomplished in her personal life.
right.
So,
And something that you just wrote, I'm looking back at what she was saying to Sarah Seward. It's so funny that the way you wrote it said, "Well, Victoria, how you doing? How are things with going with James?" And who responds first? Sarah. Don't ask, because I seen it with my own eyes.
hmm.
Okay. And then Victoria goes into her commercial spiel, but there's something about her, and this is where her life journey
Hmm.
has met the inner conflict in her own social sexual life is dealing with young women who at one point, one is a sexual deviant. So she's pretty much living the life of a hoe.
Mm-hmm.
Put it quite
Actually, what I
bluntly.
read, the article I found on the
Mm-hmm.
reformatory says that the girls were all into homosexuality.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. See, because I mean, those are
yeah.
moments, and to not be afraid to talk about that, because basically now she is, as a result of her appointment, has
Mm-hmm.
had to be a witness to lives of young women that she wants to help change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she has to be able to speak to these moments to
Mm-hmm.
the closest friends that she has.
Yeah.
And because she knows Sarah is a good time party girl, but she's got moral principles.
Mm-hmm.
She's a businesswoman who can live a kind of a hot, you know, she trips the light fantastic and she's known to throw parties,
Mm-hmm.
but she still has principles.
Mm-hmm.
Ida is the more stable,
Mm-hmm.
which is why the friendship was started in the first place, because at that church where Ida was an invited guest or as
Mm-hmm.
a member, they impressed Sarah and Victoria to the point where we can do better with our lives. We have someone we can look up to who is a role model.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part of which where we have to have in this particular scene, they express their appreciation for Ida keeping them on point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Victoria is definitely conflicted as a result of working with young women and seeing it first person what she escaped and could have been.
Mm-hmm.
She was fortunate. So she didn't get that appointment by being hoity toity. She got that appointment because she was a role model.
Right. She was a role model.
Yes,
And raised by both father and mother.
yes, a wholesome upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody can say they've had that.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the best of families, there's some that come from brokenness that they were able to overcome the brokenness of their siblings or family members who took wrong turns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
And this is
Mm-hmm.
about women now. This is where this whole story can come back to what are women, who are Black women, why are Black women concerned about these issues? What did they do to overcome some of the most oppressive things at that period? Not only because they were Black, but because they were women too.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
think they got it bad. Women think they got it bad now with abortion rights. And oh my God, you know what a Mississippi appendectomy is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Fannie Lou Hamer explains this.
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi appendectomy is young women in homes and institutions, almost jails, maybe some are jails, in which they take their reproductive rights out of them and sterilize them. That's a Mississippi appendectomy.
Mm. Oh yeah, that's right. That's what they did to
That's
Fannie Lou
what they
Hamer.
did. That's
Mm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the period for which we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Now, see, people don't know this, but if
Mm-hmm.
they know our stories and they know about what these young women in this, I guarantee you, in this institution where these young women that she says are so-called sexual deviants, they were doing sterilization routines on them.
Mm. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find more information on them, but I can imagine it was, yeah.
It would
Very.
had to be it had to be brutal.
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
And then when you come off the plantation where white men took you for sexual favors at their call,
Mm-hmm.
that's documented.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these young ladies are one generation removed from that experience.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. About how long should this scene be, do you
As
think?
long as you want to make it. I
Okay.
don't, at this moment, there's no limit to how much you want. Let the spirit of your womanness flow through these characters, because this is one space where you can let
Mm-hmm.
them express everything that Sheila has seen, experienced. And if remember this,
Mm-hmm.
when Color Purple was written,
Mm-hmm.
that scene with Suge and what's her face, whether it was when they left Harpo's at the fight after she got through singing Sisters, and they
Mm-hmm.
come back to the house, they have a sexual moment with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Steven Spielberg colored it up, but in the book, and this is what I have not read all of it, but I'm from what women have told me,
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember that
this is
scene.
what and ultimately because we allowed our women to be used as a sexual toy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's brutal. And the memory of that, as you go at this period, this piece, 100 years ago, they're
Mm-hmm.
only 50 years removed from the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And so ultimately, these are the women who were abused, used, and had to fight their way from out of the washroom to the kitchen to the housemaid to become a woman of stature. These three women are women of stature. And I guarantee you, in their own families,
Mm-hmm.
they had women who had to go through that experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right, right.
So it's real, it's visceral.
Mm-hmm.
It has got to go down to the street level and say why they were able to escape and why they become the role models that they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what's missing.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a moment of clarification
Mm-hmm.
that would allow us to then have more of an appreciation for not just Victoria, because most people don't know her name, but they know Ida B. Wells. They know
Right.
Sarah Breedlove. They know Madam C.J. Walker because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And she speaks of it in the earlier parts where you said, look, if she can, so and so can make, Miss Malone can make money from doing hair, what the heck? I came out of the washroom. I picked cotton. I did this. I
Mm-hmm.
could do the same thing she's doing, and I'm gonna do it better. And I'm gonna have agents working for me. I'm gonna be a millionaire. I can make it millionaire. I am. And Ida B. Wells, we just celebrated the NAACP the other day in their anniversary of their birth. But
Mm-hmm.
whose picture is on the original piece of the NAACP? Ida B. Wells.
Mm-hmm. Mm. That's great.
That's and that's real.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I just posted it 2 days ago. And
Mm-hmm.
when I looked at the ad that had the men who were the help to start it,
Mm-hmm.
Ida B. Wells's picture is in that logo.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And to be respected by at that time to be respected by even black men.
Mm.
That's the dynamic of what you've written.
Mm-hmm. I uh I like to do the research part, and they don't have too much on the personal lives of Ida B. Wells, but I think I found something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where is that book? Oh, let's see. I found the book just recently. Hold on a second.
Mm-hmm. Take your time.
Oh, here it is. Have you seen this book?
Hold on a second here. I'm trying to pull this up for you so I can show you what I was talking about. I'm gonna come right back to you. This is somewhere close to here.
This book is by a associate professor of history at
Mm-hmm.
Rutgers,
Okay.
and she is the director of the Rutgers Center for Race and Ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
So she wrote this book on the life of Ida B. Wells.
Okay.
It has a picture. I don't know if you can see this, but it has a picture with Frederick Douglass in the center,
Yes.
and the people around Frederick Douglass are Ida B. Wells. She's the only
Yes.
woman,
She's the only woman. Yes.
and Thomas Fortune,
Mm-hmm.
who was a newspaper editor that she worked with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, who else? Um, Booker T. Washington
Yes, he would be that in that picture.
and I. Garland Penn.
Okay.
I. Garland Penn.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's one more guy that I have up here. Who is he? Um, let's see. The College of Life, or Practical Self-Educator, a
Mm-hmm.
manual of self-improvement for the colored race. That was the book that this portrait is in.
Okay.
Ida B. Wells is the only woman, is one of the four younger leaders whose portraits circle an image of Frederick Douglass.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, Booker T. Washington, Douglass, I. Garland Penn, and Fortune.
Okay. Now look at this picture. You
Uh-huh.
see this picture? Who's here
Oh.
at the this is what the African American Registry posted that took place Friday, February the 12th, 1909. This is when the NAACP was founded.
Mm.
And whose picture do you see here?
Oh, okay.
Right at the
There's a,
bottom, there she is,
yep.
Ida
I
B.
see well.
Wells.
Mm-hmm.
That's the importance of this woman.
Mm-hmm.
So that, yes, she is the mentor to Sarah Breedlove and Victoria Haley. She
Mm-hmm.
is so well respected that she is so, by the men who started the NAACP,
Mm-hmm.
because this is, let's see, if I can,
W.B. Du Bois, I know.
yes, you see him, Oswald I can't
They
think
should
of,
have placed
yeah,
him at the top, I think.
yes. And this is William English Walling, Mary White, Henry. I can't say, well, hold on. Let me see if I can make it larger. Okay,
Maybe, oh,
here we
there it is.
go. Here we go. Henry Minkowitz. So you got a Jewish man,
Mm-hmm.
Mary White Overton, William English Walling, W.E.B. Du Bois, Oswald Billard, and Ida B. Wells.
Mm-hmm.
That shows you right there. This is what they posted in 1909.
Mm, that's great. Okay, I'm gonna go back and get more information here, but I know I can make this better.
Yes, and it's not so much as make it better, but just fuller.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because you're already on the road to making it better, determining to have these three women share
Mm-hmm.
their real personage with each other
Mm-hmm.
is something that the play does not do at up until this moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nice introduction in the beginning because they actually we get a sense of Sarah and Victoria really being close. But then you come to that moment when
Mm-hmm.
they really look up to Ida B. Wells
Mm-hmm.
for all that she's done as a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
These are her mentees,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all very important people.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and it's amazing how similar they are,
Yes.
which is the attraction.
And yes, exactly. And we, the audience, need to be educated in that sense of them being so close that they can actually talk to each other about the most sensitive things that are happening in their lives, not the collegial things or the political, social things, but the
Mm-hmm.
experiences that they've been a witness to that would allow them to really share this at this moment, and then for us to come out and say, damn, those are some powerful women. I
Mm-hmm.
love these women, and I didn't know this about them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. It's kind of interesting that well, the younger woman is still in the abusive relationship
Yes,
because, well, partly because of her youth
yes.
and trying to figure out what is going on, what she should be doing. And then Sarah,
Mm-hmm.
uh, she realized that when I'm assuming that she might have known that her husband was running around, but when it got to the point where I think she felt that when it became a threat to her business, then she had to get rid of him right quick. Uh,
Yes. Because
because
see, think of it like this.
yeah.
The word of the women that she was bringing in,
Hmm.
teaching them,
Hmm.
assigning them, training them. And if that moment where her husband was having an affair with not just one, but probably a couple, that would trickle down into and throughout her organization, and they'd be talking about her behind her back,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
ruining her reputation.
Hmm. Hmm.
Victoria says something about her relationship with the church in the first scene when she's asked about, yeah, if the church would be doing more about this, this, and this, as opposed to that, that, and that, we
Hmm.
might be getting a lot further along than what they're doing because what the church at that time, patriarchal.
Hmm. Hmm.
Very few women ministers, if any. And so the patriarchal concept would then be challenging. Well, woman, what? Yeah, I hear what you're doing. Congratulations. But hey, the elders are the men of this church. You are not an elder. You are not a deacon. You're not even a deaconess. Then there's no such thing as a deaconess. And see, that would then make her challenge her relationship with an older man who only wants her to be a baby maker, kitchen, get back in the kitchen, Victoria.
Right.
How dare you want to be what I do? I'm the breadwinner of this family, not you. And y'all, you in there, y'all, you selling them white gloves? Come on. I'm making money working for the white man, as opposed to you working for yourself. I'm working for the man. And yeah, my butt's getting kicked every single day. You see, and this is part of the conflict that's still ongoing in our families. Because when you have women who are now educated, making more money than their husbands, and the challenge is that at some point we are in battle with each other and not realizing if we put our collective powers together, we don't need white people. Not to do what we want to do. I don't need white people to show me how to get to freedom. I've got that in my bones, and I know how to overcome. And I refuse and rebuke trying to work for somebody else to be their slave. If I'm gonna be a slave, I'm gonna be my own slave. And it's hard. It's hard to break from that, but especially if you've already tasted freedom and you want to go back on the plantation. That podcast that I just put up, take a listen to it. Because in that podcast that I just did, the gentleman is young, and I told him my opinion.
How do I find the podcast?
I'm gonna paste it on your page.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
You're gonna
just
place it on
on
your
your
Facebook?
Facebook page, yes.
Oh, okay.
And take a listen to that because in it he says he tried to get me to understand those people who voted for Trump. I said, there's nothing to understand. You are what you eat. Okay. And ultimately, if they decided to vote to remove the 14th Amendment and put you and us back in slavery, you're going to go walking in because you think that democracy is working, and you're going to allow them to overturn the 14th Amendment. And because if they are overturned by vote, you're going to say, well, I guess I got to go on back to slavery. I don't think so. What kind of mentality is that? And a lot of people voted for Trump. Why? Because they think he's rich and they think his money can buy him his freedom. Negatory on that, yo. Wake up and smell the shit you're standing in, because that ain't gonna ever happen. They are trying to put us back in slavery. So now, if they remove the 14th Amendment, because they only need 24 votes to have a constitutional amendment to make it 2/3. And if they decide to vote it and overturn it, oh, you're going to allow and accept that?
I haven't heard that.
But that's the mentality of the 2025. That's what they're trying to do. And for us who think that that's going to be okay, I got to say, I'm through with you. I don't even want to have a conversation with you because you're ignorant.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. That's not even a discussion.
Right. And we're at war, and nobody wants, at the point at which, if you don't see that everything they're doing is all about trying to destroy African Americans and people of color, then I really challenge, stop living in Disneyland and wake the fuck up, because this is the war that's being perpetrated against us right now. And this is an end game.
Yeah.
And for you athletes, y'all but nothing but rent a slave.
Mm-hmm.
They'll pay you a lot of money, but they won't let you deal. They
Mm-hmm.
won't let you protest. NFL's already said we ain't gonna ever have no more of that Kendrick Lamar kind of stuff on our field again, ever.
Mm-hmm.
They've already denounced it, the whole entire NFL. So what
Oh,
does that
is that
say to
right?
so what does that say to the black athlete who's out
Mm-hmm.
there knowing that he is being treated? Okay, the combine, take your clothes off, let's weigh you, let's see if your teeth are all there. Let's say, let's make we've seen this scene and we don't even realize it's being recreated because they're paying you millions of dollars to go out there and bust your brains out and be nothing but waste of amoeba. Once you go through CT, your brain is dead.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
ain't gonna help you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the moment. Either we are going to wake up and
Mm-hmm.
realize this is a battle royale, or you can walk willy-nilly right into the plantation. Stay there. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to know you. I don't want to know you. I don't want to even be your friend.
Mm-hmm. Now, who is this guy that interviewed you?
It happens to be John Gales' son. That's the whole story about this is one of the persons that was trying hired us, me
Mm-hmm.
and Janice Lydell, to write the musical on um, Dr. Opal Lee.
Oh, okay.
Juneteenth.
So
Now,
this is a musical. This
this
is
is
a
a
musical.
musical, but I
Oh,
have to
great.
divorce me. Janice and I have to divorce ourselves from him because he's trying to play the same grifting game that
Mm-hmm.
Trump is doing. And this is
Oh,
what Black people do to each other.
oh,
But the story is great. Janice has written but now we've written and have music that is a phenomenal story, but
oh,
we're
good.
not going to sell it to anybody who wants to grift and abuse our contract and our capacity as artists.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our folks treat artists the same way we treat slaves,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no room for that anymore. It's okay. Been there, done it. It's happened before, but it's just time right now. I'm in no mood to play games with people who want to
Mm-hmm.
play the like they do show business when they have no idea what show business is really all about. And
Right.
that's part of the what we're trying to do with your story.
Mm-hmm.
Elevate it, get it to
Elevator.
the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I hope so.
Janice gave to Kimberly and Garland a list of every Black theater in this country. There are 110.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there are 110 Black theaters or 101, whatever it was I counted, and we're not in contact with those theaters as your representative, when we finish this piece, my job is as your agent is to make sure those theaters get a chance to see this piece and read it and then produce it,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just not enough to get it from the page to the stage. We got to get it into the market,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
get you paid for your brilliance,
Mm-hmm.
have royalties come to you every month as this play is done across the country and around the world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you as a writer would write your book just to sit up there in your closet up in the attic where you are and have nobody read it.
Right. Exactly.
See, so
That's a.
there's a dynamic to what we have to do in
Mm-hmm.
order to escape the mentality of slavery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, I think all the time, should I retire from the city? But anyway, I'm still giving that some thought.
And
Oh.
as you should, but it's allowed you to
Mm-hmm.
have the luxury to even consider this. Just
Right.
think of the people who don't have that luxury, Sheila.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
committed to being the slave.
Yeah. Yeah. I consider myself blessed. I mean, even though my mother's house is
Yes,
small,
yes.
at least I have a roof over my head.
Hello, and that
I'm
cold
not.
air, does yeah, you can put on your cap and with your
Yeah.
gloves and get a little electric heater and maybe even taking a nip every once in a while, but that's okay too,
Yeah.
because that too shall pass. But the
Yep.
reality is the journey that we're all on has
Mm-hmm.
always been about freedom.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
cannot escape that. So when
Mm-hmm.
you listen to that podcast, it's only an hour and 11 minutes long, and that's the first of two because I challenged this individual, a young man, to understand what is a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And in it, I define it to the point of understanding why leadership has dynamics
Mm-hmm.
that are critical to be, whether you're a shepherd,
Mm-hmm.
pastor, president, it doesn't matter. And there's six core principles. You
Mm-hmm.
feed your hungry, clothe your naked, shelter your homeless, heal your sick, give hope to the hopeless, and protect the planet that you live on. If you do those core six things first and foremost, you are a qualified leader. If you none of those are in your original platform of saying, I want to be your leader, your president, you ain't nothing but a thug, a grifter, and a con artist. Have no, all you want to do is for yourself. That's a narcissistic attitude, and you're not even concerned about the people you are going to lead. And
Mm-hmm.
that's applicable to any profession.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Head of household. If you're the head of the household, you got to do those six things.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can build a wall. Then you can go buy a nice, fine car. Then you can get for yourself all the things that will make you really be appreciative of being the good leader. But if you're putting yourself before all of that, don't be a
Mm-hmm.
leader.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot accede to that level of appreciation.
What
I
are
would
those six things one more time?
feed the hungry,
Mm-hmm.
clothe the naked,
Mm-hmm.
shelter the homeless, heal the sick,
Mm-hmm.
give hope to the hopeless, and protect the planet we live on. Now,
Mm-hmm.
those of us who are followers of the Prince of Peace, those
Mm-hmm.
are the six core principles for which he lived by.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Loaves and fishes.
Mm-hmm.
He himself was born a homeless, holy child. He
Mm-hmm.
was an immigrant. He was racially profiled. Now, I don't know about anybody else's story, but that's our story. He went to Africa after he was born for 12 years, came back to Israel, the Holy Land, or wherever, Palestine, mostly Palestine,
Mm-hmm.
Bethlehem, challenged the rabbis at 12. So where did he get that knowledge? He got that knowledge because he went back to the knowledge base. And
Mm-hmm.
when they said, where did you get this? How did you know what we've been studying for all of our lives to understand and comprehend? And yet you come back at 12 years old and talk to us like you're the theologian and we're your student. So where did he get that base of knowledge from? And
Mm-hmm.
then when he threw the money changers out of the church, because it was a business,
Mm-hmm.
that's when they said, oh no, you got to go. You're upsetting what we built. And then they crucified him. And even when they came to him in the
Mm-hmm.
Garden of Gethsemane, when he was praying, because he
Mm-hmm.
knew that Judas was coming to betray him. And when he chopped the centurion's ear off, he said something so important that even today it resonates because most people don't realize the law that they are breaking. He says, if you live by the sword, you will die by the sword. Put the sword back in your sheath, healed his ear. Now, there are 10 commandments. The first five are all about honoring God. The sixth is thou shalt not kill. That's not what I wrote. That's what you wrote. That's the book in all the Torah, the Quran, the Bible. All of y'all go by those 10 core principles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But when you get to number six, how
Mm-hmm.
many people are being killed right now in Palestine? by the so-called ones who claim to be followers of their Judeo-Christian ethics.
Yeah, it's terrible.
We cannot live and not question what I just said about being a leader, because
Hmm.
at some point, when you violate those 6 core principles, your role as a leader should be revoked.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
So it's just a philosophy of life that I live by, and
hmm
I share it as a because I learned
hmm
the respect of the human experience is pivotal to our existence. And I don't apologize for it. I live my life to express that. And it's hard because we are about right now, everybody wants to be in confrontation with each other.
mm.
They want to fight about everything. My God.
I know I've not experienced this feeling that I had. I have uh, a feeling of impending, I don't know what the word is, doom, or I just, it's just knowing that uh, so much has flip, flop, flip, changed
Yes.
under this person,
Yes.
that it is really uh making me ill if I listen constantly to the news. So I
Yes,
try not
that's a
to listen.
constant, that is a constant phrase by a
Hmm.
lot of people. A lot of our people, it's like, I can't listen to that noise anymore.
Yeah.
Because, see, if you have a plan to survive,
Hmm.
keep your focus and your mind on that. Because
Hmm.
all that other crap, this too shall pass, and it'll implode. And you're witnessing imploding. There was another crash today by a plane in Toronto,
Hmm.
Delta Airlines. 15, 16 people injured, nobody killed, but 10 of them are critically injured.
Oh.
Plane, the plane coming into landing in Toronto, Delta, the wings clipped off by something,
Hmm.
turned upside down, the fuselage, and and nobody's killed yet, but it's another accident.
Wow. I don't know how many accidents we've had since this idiot has taken over and
And that
fired
too, that's
everybody.
why I say when you go back to the Exodus and
Hmm.
Moses and Pharaoh had that conversation, and
Hmm.
Moses said, well, okay, Pharaoh, you're God. When the pox hits your house, go ahead, do what you got to do as God and see
Hmm.
if you can control what you consider yourself to be able to do because you're God. You don't like my God, but you are God.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
to say that to Trump, say, okay, you if you really think you can fix all of this,
Hmm.
well, here's another one. You know, 83 million people are going to be hit by a snowstorm coming across the country right now as we speak. The floods in Kentucky
Hmm.
are hitting as we speak. The tornadoes in Tennessee are hitting as we speak. The fires in LA as we speak.
Hmm.
Ukraine, Palestine as we speak. So go ahead, God, Mr. Pharaoh.
Hmm.
You think you got all this power because you are a so-called billionaire? Go right ahead. Because at the point at which when your people start realizing you're bullshit artists, it's going to explode. And you're
Hmm.
right. You have this conscious knowledge of an impending chaotic doom. And you're right to have it because you're the one who's seeing the signs. And when in the Revelation it says that the seals are broken, you understand it. You get it.
Hmm.
Now try telling that to the far right and those 74 million people that voted for this clown
Hmm.
who drank his Kool-Aid.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, Anyway,
Anyway,
I
yes, but yes,
I
go
think you
ahead.
gave me some great points about this scene.
Yes.
And the other scene, where I have him coming into the house, that
Hmm.
one I think just lasted for a page and a half.
Yeah, it does. And
I
but
had,
it's a matter of being able to, but see, you've got a resolution, which is wonderful. You
uh,
have Sarah saying, I got an idea. And it's consistent with
mhm,
many of the ideas of the when folks were escaping the plantation, they
mhm,
hid them under boards in a wagon. They
mhm,
hid them in coffins. They
mhm,
hid them. I mean, it's a consistent story that's not new, but it's a story of how the Underground Railroad became an opportunity to Harriet Tubman.
Oh, Harriet Tubman. Somebody asked me to write a two-page paper on Harriet Tubman for them. So,
and
got
and and she knew what to do. There were, you know, it's in our legacy, in the stories that are real. You don't have to
mm-hmm,
make these up, but
mm-hmm,
because they're stories that people have recognized and understood that these were the moments, making up songs that would tell you where to go next,
mm-hmm,
knowing that the next spot you went to, there's a safe place for you.
mm-hmm. You know, uh, I did put Henry Johnson in the house. I mean, he came to Victoria's house. I
Mm-hmm,
think that's what you wanted me to do.
mm-hmm.
And so let's see, what scene was that? Uh,
It's and the thing about this scene that you're
uh-huh.
writing now, remember
Yeah.
I was saying if you put this scene in,
Uh-huh.
we end it act one when Victoria says this marriage is over.
Oh, okay.
Remember I said that because then what happens is you'll have four scenes in act one,
Mm-hmm.
or actually five scenes in act two, which is okay, but they're balanced.
Oh, okay. Well, I
Uh,
know if you get a chance to just look at those couple, I think page and a half where I've got to go back and look at the script, but I put Henry Johnson comes to Victoria's house. James is at the house, and Henry Johnson, he just arrived in St. Louis, and he knocks on the door and he says, "Oh, I just wanted to let you know I've arrived. I'm on my way to the hotel." And so he greets both James and Victoria. James is still inebriated, and
okay.
Henry Johnson notices this, and he doesn't stay long. He just says, you know, that he wanted to let her know that,
Mm-hmm.
and let the Federation of Colored Women know that he was grateful for the invitation and that he would see her the next day to go to the Coliseum.
Okay,
So,
I'm gonna look at that scene because originally when we had this conversation a week ago, I
uh-huh.
was saying we'll end it when she said end act one when James has thrown out her stuff into the yard. At that
Yeah.
point, Henry Johnson had not come to the house. We opened up act two with him coming to the house. Now you're saying he's come to the house earlier, but I'll take a look at it.
Oh, okay. I might
I'll
have put
take a
it in.
look at it. Yeah, but
I guess I
no,
put
either
it in the
way.
wrong place.
Well, well, if you, here's the question.
Okay.
If you put it in the space that you just defined, and I'm going to read it because I haven't had a chance to read through it at all.
Mm-hmm.
If he comes into that space and has James drunk,
Mm-hmm.
typically drunk, and he meets Henry Johnson, then if that happens before James throws out the stuff into the yard, you really reduce that moment to yes, he has every right to get pissed off, but I like it even better that he hasn't met Henry. I
Mhm.
love the fact that that's the moment where you were and where the domestic violence escalates to him not beating her, but throwing her inventory out into the yard to damage it.
Mhm.
And that breaks her down.
Right.
So,
He's
yeah,
trying to break her
yeah,
dream.
but trying to break her dream. And I think if Henry comes and meets James before in the drunken state, he will even be more violent.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
And that's something to consider because I'm gonna tell I haven't read it yet, and
Okay.
it may make sense, but I'm putting forward the notion that if you end that as end of Act One, and then you
Mhm.
open Act Two with Henry coming to the house, meeting
Mhm.
her for the first time, and being thankful, because I love the way that was evolving, and we're all anticipating Henry, and then when she's left James or kick James out and he invites this young soldier into the house.
Mhm.
See, the audience going to say, "Oh shit,"
I
but
think
not
that,
realizing he's damaged himself,
yeah.
and which means that she is as hesitant to meet him, excited to meet him, but realizes something is off. And then when they go to the conference, that we realize he is suffering from PTSD, and that
Mm.
moment. Now, we I want to go back and read that because triggering the moment and putting it up on stage, the question becomes how to manifest that on stage that we haven't talked about. That what if while he's on stage and giving the speech, the catcalls that come out from the audience, and then technically behind him on the scrim are scenes from World War One in which the bombs are going off, the bullets are going overhead, and he has that moment. I mean,
Mm.
there's so much that we can put in, and then remember some of the other comments were, well, what if the letters were actually spoken by the persons who wrote it?
Yeah. I was thinking of Ida speaking
Yes,
the
Ida in
letters.
particular. Yes.
Oh, I did talk about the play in Vera's class
Mm-hmm.
and asked her what were different ways uh, for letters to be handled. And she pretty much said, what the comments were
Mm-hmm.
during the uh, play
Mm-hmm.
when we put it on Zoom. And so, but like you had said also that Ida, we could do something like Ida reading or
Her
just
voice,
having the
right.
eyes
Oh yeah. Oh, there's
or,
so much that we can do because that's what
yeah.
now see now that we have the chance to go back and do the rewrites. That's why I say I like what you've done. The economy of the
Mhm.
dialogue is lending itself to a better flow
Mhm.
of the story.
Oh, I found some pictures of the soldiers in
Mm-hmm.
Houston
Mm-hmm. Oh
in the
yeah.
courtroom.
Oh yeah. I've seen those
No, have you
pictures.
seen those?
Oh yes. So
Wow.
definitely see there, and then the other piece that's I thought was a great recommendation is the music of the period.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Joplin that was the time period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though jazz was beginning,
Mm-hmm.
stride piano was the vault period music. Did I
Mm-hmm.
ever tell you how jazz got its name?
Mm. Jazz
Yes.
wasn't
Okay.
asked.
The
Yeah.
Catholic Church at that time
Yeah.
said that the music coming out of New Orleans,
Mm-hmm.
because they started smoking marijuana, and Catholic Church considered the music wild and crazy music,
Mm-hmm.
and they actually labeled the music as jackass music.
Mm-hmm.
Jackass music became jazz.
Mm.
Now, a
Catholic
historian told
Church
me that
named it that.
the Catholic Church did. Now, a
Mm.
historian from New Orleans told me that story as he relating the Louis Armstrong Museum there. I was running, I had run the, I've been on the board of directors at the Louis Armstrong House Museum. And then back in, when I was running the Queens Historical Society. And then in 2007, 2008, I was the assistant director at the Louis Armstrong House Museum. That story was told to me by a historian from New Orleans who was preserving the Louis Armstrong stuff at museum in New Orleans. And I was like, what? You know, but it made sense. Just like rock and roll became that devil music with you know, with Elvis and all that other stuff, because they didn't want, it was upsetting the Southern Baptist Christian base. Jackass music. Jackass music became jazz.
Wow.
I was like, blown away, blown away. But it makes sense because at the period that we're talking about, we're talking about a revolution of music, lifestyles, flappers, Great Gatsby. All of this was going on back in that time period.
Well, I love the music you all put with the Frank Silvera.
Oh yes, that wasn't that
was good.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was great.
So
Great.
this is why I think what we're doing now has such a opportunity to craft and be better crafts guides to make great storytelling. And it's a new age, and we're using technology to enhance it. And so now as we're in the rewriting phase, I'm anxious to read what you've written, and I'll do my dramaturgy idea and concept to send back to you what I'll reformat the stuff so we get a look at it. We have to look at it and see if indeed it's better, and I'm sure that it will be, and then see where we can move it, excuse me, to the next level of getting it to the market. Because that's the next part, which we have to, and there's 100 and some. When Janice Lydell sent this material to us a couple days ago, and I said to Garland and Kimberly, every one of these theaters need to be invited to come see what we're doing. This is how we're going to be able to get these plays back to the market. If they don't see it, they won't know about it. In addition to the fact that you expanded the audience base by recommending audiences that were not theater, the Women's Voting League, the college women. I mean, this is important. So in order to build the audience to want to see this play on a stage, is about the community that's going to say, I want to see this play. Then that's how we pay the playwright, the royalties that can come to you for your brilliance. It won't sit up in the attic there, you know, gathering dust, but will be on a stage. If not in St. Louis, it doesn't matter, somewhere.
Wow, that's great. That's great.
And thus we continue.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we'll stop here. We'll stop here because this one is on the house.
Okay.
Because I know you know, but my fee will be as once we get it to the next level.
Yeah.
Right now, this is I wanted to see how far we could take the rewrite. And I know you're taking the class with Vera, and I think that's going to help guide you even more. But once we get it to this next level, then I want to be able to represent you in the market.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay.
That sounds great. Do I, so I should just keep sending the web link
Oh,
out.
yes. Oh, by all means, you
Just keep,
keep building your audience.
okay.
Definitely.
I
Yeah.
haven't heard back from anybody,
Well, you know
but
something?
I've sent it out to about, uh, well, about 10 theaters, uh, all of them that were union.
Union houses, yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's fine
And,
because see, they at the point at which most of them are looking for new material.
okay.
Uh the
Do I send them my
keeper
script
you
or,
you you can, but not yet.
okay.
I
So
I
what,
want to represent you on that end. We'll have I want to be represent you as your agent or
uh-huh.
a manager, because formal introduction is better received by the agent than the playwright.
Okay.
Okay.
So if
And we're not
anybody,
ready to send it into the market yet. It still has some work on it, but send them the video by all means.
just send them the
It's
video.
like a
Okay.
teaser. It's like you're
Okay.
giving them a taste of Sheila Basapo Moyo and
Okay.
more to come because it's a work in progress.
Okay. I
Okay.
should say in the letter
Yeah.
then that it's a work in progress.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
keep a list of those theaters because we will circle back to them and I
Okay.
will be glad to represent you in the market,
Mm-hmm.
for which that's the way we all make some money off of it. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
All
And I'll
right.
work on this. I'll work on
Yeah.
and then you'll let me know if I put that other piece in the right
Oh,
place
oh yeah. I'm
to
going to
do
take
this.
a look at all that. And once again, I'm going to send you the video
Oh, okay.
and the notes that go with it because these are just as important as anything else. But
Mhm.
the pearls that we have dropped for each other today is being able for me
Mhm.
dramaturgically to now read the script and
Mhm.
then for you to take the notes that will come by way of our recording and the AI notes so that
Mhm.
you'll be able to go back and put it up those bullet points of what they should be talking about in that scene.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All righty. Well, listen, be careful. That storm that's coming your way
Yeah.
can be very dangerous.
Mm.
And just and with your family, be
Mhm.
extremely careful as if they go out.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you,
Okay.
Byron. You
Yeah.
all too be careful as
Oh
well.
yeah. Oh yeah. We have to. We have
Mm.
to. All righty. God bless you. Love you.
Love you too,
All
Byron.
right.
Thanks a
Peace
lot.
out.